Hey guys, welcome to the first ever episode of the AI Edge podcast, a podcast made for marketing professionals that want to keep up with all things AI in the marketing and advertising industry. So again, this is episode 1. I'm your host. I'm Shiv Gupta, founder of You of Digital. And with me, I have two wonderful guests. I have Krish Raja. Krish, you want to introduce yourself quick?
Hi there, I'm Krish. I'm Australian British, and I'm now living in New York, where I've just started an AI literacy business. And the real reason for that is aligned with helping people to learn how to use AI, how to think with it. And I thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on here. And I have my wonderful co-host, Myles Younger.
Hey, Shiv.
Oh, the best intro ever. Hey, Shiv. I love it. Okay, so let's just jump right into the top news stories of the week in AI. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was the Coca-Cola ad. Guys, the Coca-Cola AI ad is back. So last year, just for everyone's background, last year, Coca-Cola made an AI-only ad, which was kind of like their classic holiday ad with the truck driving down the highway and the lights and the always Coca-Cola theme song with the polar bears and the animals. And guess what? It did not land really well with the marketing and advertising community because it looked like AI, frankly. And it didn't look great, and the animals looked a little wonky. There was no real sentiment coming through. It felt like AI. And so, interestingly enough, this past week, Coca-Cola put out this year's version of the ad. And guess what? It's also 100% AI. And guess what? It also looks a little wonky. But the PR aspect of it is, Coca-Cola's put out all of this information about how they use less people this year. They used, more of the new technology this year, and how production costs went down. And look at the quality. The quality is so much better. Now, there have been a bunch of articles about this, about how the quality actually is not that much better. And did they actually save that much money if they went from 100 people to 50 people, and instead of thousands of videos, to hundreds of thousands of clips, they went to 80,000 clips. So that's kind of the conversation right now amongst the creative community. So I would love your take on this particular topic in general, this ad, what's going on with AI and creative. So Krish, let's start with you. Thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts were mainly watching and reading the YouTube comments on all of the various videos, which was hilarious. My favorite one was sloths always bring out that holiday feel, which is, if you look at the ad, there's a sloth in there randomly, and obviously that's got nothing to do with Christmas and is a perfect representation of I guess what everyone's talking about, which is we all should use AI for creativity, but it's lighthearted, and I get it, it's Christmas, but this is kind of endemic of the problem, I think, which is if it feels like AI slop and looks like AI slop and is not really what a human would have done, then it starts to jar people, and it starts to make people go, okay, yeah, that's crossing the line a bit, or it's something that's just unnatural,
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. I think it looks pretty off. But I do have a counterpoint, but I'm going to wait to present my counterpoint until Myles shares his thoughts. Myles, what do you think?
My one line reaction is, yay, none of us are going to lose our jobs.
yeah.
If that's what AI does, great. Everybody's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it was produced and approved. Yeah.
It was produced and approved. So here's my counterpoint to hey, this ad sucks. Hey, it's ugly. Hey, it looks like AI. My counterpoint is Coca-Cola knew what happened with last year's ad. And it's interesting because we're all marketing and advertising people. So we look at it with a discerning eye of how is this made? How is the story told? What technology was used, et cetera, et cetera. And people like us and in the marketing and advertising community are up in arms, right? They're this looks terrible. We don't think this is good creative. And Coca-Cola do better. But, and listen, maybe this is Coca-Cola just putting out the PR, but Coca-Cola put out some information about how last year's ad was actually received decently well by consumers, right? So, there's a reason they're doubling down this year. And listen, I think if it completely bombed last year, They might still double down because they want to invest in it. They want to keep trying it. They want to make it better and better. But my hunch would be if it completely bombed with consumers so badly last year, they probably would have taken a completely different approach. But they didn't, right? The ad looks similar, the theme is similar, the technology is still AI. And so I think we kind of live in our echo chamber a little bit and we're like, this is terrible. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola is like, we're a brand. We're trying to connect with consumers. You advertising and marketing nerds might have an opinion about this,
We
but we're going
we
full steam ahead.
definitely live in an echo chamber, but like, and the ad may not have bombed last year, but I would wonder if a lot of Coca-Cola's decision was around earned media coverage, which is different than actual sort of everyday person reaction. I will say that, yeah, that ad was satisfactory. It was like, okay, yeah, you made a Coca-Cola ad. Like you said to an AI, make me a
Yeah.
Coca-Cola ad. And the AI
Yeah.
is like, yeah, okay, I got lots of stuff to pull from here. I got lots of holiday material. I got lots of past Coca-Cola material. You're telling me you want it. It's like a snowy night. Yeah, yeah, those are the Coke commercials. Those are the Coke holiday commercials. They have been for a very long time. And so it's like, yeah, you made a holiday ad. Of course, people didn't react too negatively to it. It wasn't the whatever Will Smith eating spaghetti with his like weirdly deformed mouth. But
Yeah.
I expect a lot of the decision was around the earned media that they get off of this. Case in point, us talking about it. But like, could they really run those ads into perpetuity? I honestly couldn't tell you how this year's ad was different than last year's. It's like a truck driving up a road and some cut shots to other stuff at night in a snowy, serene environment. I'm just like, yeah, it's the same commercial
With sloths.
with sloth.
With
Yeah.
thoughts. I think that's a great point, Miles. Like, I think we're kind of playing this out, right? Which is, it's not necessarily about the ad itself at all. It's about the earned media. I love that take. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Any
I
quick?
think
So yeah, go ahead, Krish.
no, I was just going to say, look, I think that's what a CMO would think about it in the lens of when every brand zigs, you zag, sort of thing, and that's what Miles is saying that in this world of AI and AI producing creative outputs, I think absurdity becomes that creativity and that sort of obviously generates earned media and in that lens, what is if AI does creative different, then and it resonates and it gets people talking, then maybe it's sort of reached its mission. Maybe it's not exactly define in the definition of what we would say is a good creative, but it's all open to interpretation, I guess. So
This is where we get into kind of like, just because it's possible, is it necessarily advisable? Because like, on the one hand, I got to give Coca-Cola credit for working in public and like dogfooding this. They're like, yeah, AI is a new thing. We're not just going to talk about it. We're actually going to produce like what is arguably our tentpole commercial for the entire year. This is one of the most recognized brands in the entire world and has been for like 100 years. And so you got to give him props to that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, wait, is it really the Coca-Cola brand's job to push the envelope? Is that really how we see Coca-Cola? Is that the emotional connection? That's the emotional connection we make with like Apple or other brands, where Nike, where we want them to be pushing the limit. Coca-Cola is like, no, it's a drink. Like it's tasted the same for 100 years. Like this isn't adding, it's not add, I don't think it's adding to the Coke brand to be innovative in this way, and it may actually be detracting from it because it just sits outside of the emotional space that it's supposed to occupy in everybody's brain. But
yeah, which suggests that given the fact that they've probably got the most global reach of any brand, plus that particular ad is iconic. It's the one ad I think of when I think of Christmas. So they knew. I feel like in that lens, they knew what they were doing. That this ad would be the megaphone to make a point, to say something. And I think that that this is what they're saying, is that we can do this and we are doing it. And so what?
and
And
sloths.
and
Sloths.
slots,
Okay,
exactly.
great,
Yeah,
great
yeah,
full circle. Sloths. We'll
yeah.
end it on sloths. Let's move to the next topic. So, the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was Sam Altman, the fearless leader of OpenAI, owner of ChatGPT. was on a panel or something and brought up the possibility of ads on ChatGPT again, right? So it's interesting. He's kind of gone from being like, screw ads. I think ads are terrible for society and we would never really go there, to kind of like, hiring some people that are more ad forward, from Meta and other places, starting to hint at like, we may do like an affiliate type of model, and now hinting a little bit more at, including ads. So listen, this is going to be an ongoing topic. We don't have to like go deep here, but just quick takes, and we'll start with you, Myles. What is Sam Altman's latest kind of statement around ChatGPT, including ads? What does it mean?
It's inevitable. So they are trying to be another Google or Amazon. There's other companies you could fit into that kind of model, but they're becoming gatekeepers of whatever consumer behavior, consumer attention. So they want to be sort of a first stop that a person takes on a shopping journey. And anytime a company puts itself in that position, they monetize it. And ads are a very obvious low-hanging fruit. There's other things that they're going to do, but it's just inevitable. Like there's no reason to put yourself in that position and then not monetize it via ads. Your shareholders would be like asking you, your board would be asking questions like, "Why, Sam, dude, like, there's so much money you're leaving on the table." So anyway, he's not an idiot, so he knows that.
Krish, anything to add?
Yeah, look, I think, I watched the interview in full as well, and it's funny how he says, we're the most trusted, companion, I guess, for consumers in that same conversation as talking about an ad model, which is, for me, that's, showing where this starts and finishes, which is, if you do have that level of grip over consumers, which he says, then, ad models are powerfully profitable when you've got users blindly trusting it. It's been done before. We've seen this happen before.
Just a few times.
Just a few times. It's a great technology, but blind trust always leads to being monetized, in ways that people go up in arms about afterwards. So yeah, I think we can all see what's coming.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting, yes, it's inevitable. I totally agree. I think what's going to be interesting is when and how, right? So what does the form factor look like of that? Are they going to take a novel approach? Are they going to reinvent, advertising? Like you could go back to the Google search model, and Google didn't invent that actually. I think a company called like InterClicks invented it or something. But you could go back to the search engine advertising model. That was a new paradigm, right? There was a new kind of like way to, search the internet. And now all of a sudden there's a new way to advertise to people, based on that new way of surfing the internet. AI is a new way of tackling the internet, right? Or tackling your digital journey. And so are they going to reimagine it, or are they going to take existing models and form factors and retrofit them for AI? I think that's going to be really interesting. The other thing that I think will be interesting is when. Obviously, OpenAI has raised so much money. I couldn't even tell you what the numbers. It's in the hundreds of billions at this point. And they're worth, I think they want to IPO at $1 trillion in a year or two. And they have a lot of money, right? And they're going to keep getting more and more money. And you want to hold back ads probably as long as you possibly can without pissing off shareholders and still being able to build the things you want to build. Now, the runway might run out soon, and they may need to start introducing ads to monetize more soon. But I do think that, especially with like not just looking at OpenAI, but also thinking about like Anthropic and some of the other non-Google AI companies, like they want to be anti-ads probably for as long as possible to grow trust, to get as many consumers as possible, to charge subscriptions, right? And ads are probably like a last resort. And so, one of my theories is like, because these AI companies have so much private money flowing in, they don't need to introduce ads right away. And so, as the consumer journey shifts rapidly towards AI, but the companies don't need to introduce ads, are we going to go through like a cold age, an ice age of advertising inventory in a way as the open web, ad supported web kind of dies off and this like non-ad supported AI world propagates? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see over the next few years.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that
respond to that.
they've got a lot of money coming in, but they also owe a lot of money as a
Yes,
result of that
that's
to
fair.
the people that are investing in them. And the scale at which they owe that money means that and the scale at which there's going to be a demand for ad inventory, given the what's happening in the open web. I think that presents an irresistible opportunity for OpenAI to not have a cold age and actually
Yeah.
just grip it quickly, monetize it, and use it as a clutch, advertising to get into other monetary models that that will just grow their share and grow their control over the industry. Yeah, I mean the how is a very interesting one. I think it's you don't want to sort of predict on how that's going to happen. The how is more about I think Sam Altman says it in his interviews, like if there's a good hotel and a bad hotel for the user, um, we'd always want to deliver the good hotel, and that will keep the consumer trust, which is remarkably similar to what Elon Musk said when he launched Twitter, which is at the start he was threatening advertisers, and then he did a monologue a week later saying, oh yeah, but good ads are good, it's just bad ads are bad. And so they backstep and front step
Well,
when they
so
want to do that. And
to that point, Krish, Sam also said, "I love the ads on Instagram" in the interview, right? And he's like, the ads on Instagram get me to discover new things that I wouldn't have thought of, right? So it's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth, right?
yeah, but the how is interesting in that context, because if you're in Google search, you're looking for different products, you're searching for them, and you're likely doing the comparison yourself. Whereas here, you're probably being told which hotel to book or which thing to buy in the stream of the funnel, whatever you want to call it, research, whatever, conversion. So in that scenario, the how is interesting because you're being presented with the final decision as to what to buy or what to book, which as it pushes the decision on you as opposed to letting you pull from whatever options you have.
I think that's exactly what they'll end up wanting to monetize. Like I think everybody says ads, and I think it may end up being a bit of a red herring because like Krish, what AI wants to do, what ChatGPT, Meta AI, Claude, all of them, is it's not that they want to choose for you necessarily, but they want to help you much more than a giant list of blue Google links helps you. That's honestly not going to seem super helpful in a few years. You're going to be like, don't give me pages of links. It's not helpful to me. Now I got to click a bunch of links. Come on, you got to do better. So ChatGPT is going to do better. And they're going to want to charge, and consumers will maybe gladly pay for that extra value of like, yeah, could you help me please? Like I'm tired of pages of blue links and pages of Amazon sponsored, product links, and pages of garbage that I have to sift through. So please help me. And you make a few good choices for people, good hotels, good flights, good Christmas gifts or whatever, and people start coming back. So like, that was really helpful. Thank you. I really enjoyed buying that way. So they can charge for it. The other thing I was going to say is, and we put it this way in our newsletter on Wednesday, I think, is the whole earners versus burners distinction, where you got the AI earners, which is NVIDIA is your classic AI earner that everybody is forking over cash for GPUs. And then you have your AI burners, which OpenAI falls under that they haven't quite nailed how to earn back all this capital that they're burning through. And if Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, figures that out first with ads, it's going to make Sam Altman look bad. He's going to have to launch ads. His shareholders are going to be like, dude, you're being lapped by your competition. We get it that you got to slow roll the ads, but dude, you got to roll ads out at some point because you got to make this money back before you just run out of runway.
Yeah. I love all these takes, guys. You guys are crushing it, blowing my mind. I love it. Okay, let's go to the next topic. So I want to talk about Shopify versus Amazon's AI stance thus far. So we've seen Amazon, I think, actually sued Perplexity this past week. basically saying, hey, Perplexity, you can't be sending agents to Amazon.com to make purchases on behalf of users. And then I think, I've heard this in other ways. I think Amazon's blocking, generally speaking, like blocking AI crawlers from looking at kind of Amazon's inventory and crawling the retail site, et cetera, et cetera. Now, on the other hand, Shopify is leaning all the way in, right? And they're the ones that are trying to democratize, e-commerce for merchants and retailers and things like that, and trying to be kind of the anti-Amazon, right? And they've been doing that for a long time. They're obviously crushing it, but it's interesting that as the anti-Amazon, they're taking also this pro-AI stance, whereas Amazon's taking the anti-AI stance. So, would love your thoughts on this, Krish. Let's start with you. Like, how do you reconcile that? What are your thoughts on that? What's the right approach for either of these companies and for consumers?
Yeah, it's a really interesting. Like you say, it's two completely different philosophies of how the marketplace works, how e-commerce works, and yeah. Look, I mean, if Amazon get angry at your agentic browser for going on their site, they're uncovering something that they don't want uncovered, right? Which is they're finding cheaper prices, or they're messing basically with the marketplace model that Amazon have as a walled garden. And the Amazon's got a deep partnership with Anthropic. Everyone knows that, and so Perplexity and Anthropic are competitors that do the same thing or will do the same thing. And yeah, I think therein lies the issue. I don't think it's I don't think they're anti-AI. I just think they're anti-open marketplace AI, which is if an AI's agentic browser is going to do something on their site, it is sure as hell better be controlled by Amazon, and it should as well be controlled by Amazon's trusted partner Anthropic. And so I think that because the economics of Amazon Marketplace, there are tight margins there. That if people mess with pricing and can access different products at prices that they didn't foresee, then I think that has a messy effect on Amazon's business. And so I think that's my ramble, but there's something in there about, I don't think they're anti-AI. I think it's more just it's about taking full control of the AI.
Yeah, and I think like they're playing a dangerous game, right? Like, and this is always a dangerous game. If you're a company that has some product market fit, you've got customers and things like that. New technology comes along and potentially disrupts your business. You have a tough decision to make, right? The decision is go with the flow, right? Go with where the puck is going from a consumer standpoint and adapt your products and disrupt yourself potentially and go that way, or put up a wall, right? And say, no, we actually are going to do it a different way, or we're going to protect our business interests, even if it means making the consumer experience worse, or, not caring too much about what consumers want. And that's a dangerous game, right? Because there are many examples throughout history where companies played that game. There's many examples where they were fine and they were big enough and they had enough leverage to dictate terms to the market and to consumers. Like, this is how this is going to continue to go, guys. But there's also plenty of examples where they got disrupted, right? And so I just think it's a dangerous game. Myles, what do you think?
I know how Perplexity can solve this almost overnight. The bots click a few sponsored product links while they're there. Amazon's
Yeah,
resistance evaporates.
yeah.
Like, oh, as long as the bots will click some links, we're good. Send us some more
That'll
bots.
that'll
We'll take more
that
bots.
will
I love it.
100% be a
Yeah,
business model for sure.
yeah. Like, anyway, no, and Shiv, that's to your point, that that's one of the main models that AI threatens, that Amazon has currently with its retail media model, is like they need lots of people on there looking at sponsored product links because they make a boatloads of cash off of those links, and bots don't care about those links. They don't click them. It doesn't factor into their decision making process. No, it's if you take the distinction between Shopify and Amazon, this gets back to what I was saying about where OpenAI wants to become a new sort of like first stop for everyday people. Today, there's a couple of different first stops for people. Google and Amazon are two of them. Amazon for shopping, Google for kind of like general purpose search. Amazon knows it's a first stop. If they allow outside AI bots to start hitting their site and buying things, they have automatically made themselves a second stop. They don't want that. Amazon does not want to be a second stop. Shopify is happy being a second or third stop right now. I mean, how do you get to Shopify? You typically go probably through Google or go through a couple of steps to get to Shopify, and they are happy with that. And so they're just like, oh, well, if somebody else wants to come in as the first stop, great. We love more first stops. More first stops means more traffic to us because we're a second stop or a third stop. So I think it's also what's driving a lot of their strategy is just, and to your point, Shiv, is like what exactly will Amazon do? They clearly can't just like sort of like whatever throw up walls and do nothing. And so what is it they're going to do?
Well, I think they want everybody using Rufus, right? Like that's
Yes, right. And
that's what they're going to do. They're like, don't use
yeah.
ChatGPT, use Rufus. No. Okay. Like, I guess last thing I want to talk to you guys about is like, what's the important takeaway for marketers? Coming out of this news this week, like, is there a hot take or a thing a brand or a marketer should take away from just these developments that we talked about today, right? It's OpenAI getting into ads. Obviously, there's some very obvious takes there, but then also this Shopify versus Amazon bit, the Coca-Cola ad. Like, if you had to tell a marketer one thing to take away from this week's news and podcast, what would it be? Krish, let's start with you.
I'd say in general, if I look at all the themes and ladder them up, I'm saying just realize the relationship between yourself and AI is, the most important thing, which is if you're not using AI to improve yourself, you're improving AI one way. That's that's it. And so if that's for me, that's a real problem, and it leads to sort of dissonance in how we think about what creativity is, what we can do with it, productivity. If AI replaces us or augments us, all those things become broken if we're just improving AI and AI isn't improving us, and we're just asking it banal questions and getting the same slot back and sort of just blindly trusting it. I think that's a dangerous slippery slope for all of us. So I think, and that sort of goes across all of the threads that we've talked about today is it's a fantastic tool and it can enrich you and your job and your personal life so much. Honestly, it's crazy, but with a critical thinking lens and understanding what the relationship you're getting into with any AI you're using, and I think that's super important for users and for marketers to vote with their dollars as well.
Love that. Myles, what's your takeaway?
Less risk of job loss, because we've seen that Coca-Cola, one of the biggest brands in the world, had a team of like 100 people make an AI ad, and it was still like pretty mediocre. So I'm like, okay, that's good. This is good. This is an enhanced. This is a tool that can enhance mock-ups or various stages in production, concepting, things like that. But like as a finished product, I don't love it. On the sort of like whatever Game of Thrones between all these platforms, it's just a matter of like looking at your like 2026, 2027 strategy and being mindful of what the motivations of all of these platforms are, but then also being mindful of how people are using AI, and just remembering that all of these platforms are having to triangulate, not in real time, because these are very large companies that move relatively slowly. So none of this happens like overnight. But just knowing that, for instance, Amazon's going to keep their walls up until they unveil some alternative strategy. So what's that alternative strategy going to be? And be ready for that. But in the meantime, maybe don't expect them to, do anything too crazy in terms of like changing the way that they work with marketers.
That's great. Mine is tough one. I guess I'm probably going to say this at the end of every podcast, AI Edge podcast episode, which is like, it is early innings, man, and like this stuff is so fluid and changing so fast. And like, if you're a marketer, don't make big bets that hook you into something and tie you down. Like, make lots of small bets because we're so early innings. So even like the Coca-Cola thing, it's like, that's a big-ish bet. I don't think it's going to like, Coca-Cola's not going anywhere, right? Pepsi's not taking over tomorrow. But like, I think make a lot of small bets because we don't know what the future holds. Like, things are going to keep evolving. doesn't mean have, analysis paralysis. I'm seeing a lot of that right now where brands are like not doing anything because it's so early innings and they're like, well, let's just let it all settle down. Well, no, that's definitely the wrong approach. But also the extreme opposite, I think, is the wrong approach. You want to be somewhere in the
Well, to bring this back to marketing strategy, I can almost guarantee you the Pepsi agency is thinking hard right now. How do we show up Coke? They came out with this super bland ad that looks identical to last year's. What does that say to Pepsi?
Yeah,
Opportunity in
I'm looking
terms of,
forward to that.
of getting the conversation back focused on Pepsi. So, like, anyway,
sloth,
Pepsi, if you're listening,
sloths,
yeah, exactly.
So
sloths. We are full
I
circle.
think there's I can't wait for the next week. There's going to be something for sure. But I think the small bets thing is really important. Look, we've seen it time and time again. No one got fired in a marketing business for choosing Google. That's fact. It's an obvious choice. It's going to be there, and the same goes with OpenAI, ChatGPT Enterprise. It is, it's going to feature. It's going to be there in your marketing stack somewhere or the other. But I think, like you say, it's important to make smaller and more brave decisions. For especially with AI, because I think the downsides of everyone just choosing one business to do all their things with, in a marketing lens and in a marketing strategy lens, is not ideal. I think for the future of the industry.
Yeah, agreed. All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap. Krish, thank you for being our first ever guest. Thank you to my fearless co-host, Myles Younger. There's a lot more to learn about. There's a lot more in the AI news for marketing and advertising from this past week to check out. AWS did a big deal with, who was it? I think it was with ChatGPT or OpenAI. I think, Amazon laid off 14,000 people in the name of AI. So there was a lot. Sora, I think, introduced a new kind of offering for brands. So there's a lot more to get into from this past week. You can check all of that out in our AI Edge newsletter. We are U of Digital. We are a training company for the marketing and advertising industry. We train a ton on AI. So please check us out at www.uofdigital.ai. And thanks again for tuning in to the first ever episode. We'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks, Shiv. Thanks, Myles.
Yeah, sure thing, man.